Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1 Brendan Kitt. This evening we warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Cuthbert Claude Ivey, whose story will be told shortly. We're honoured to acknowledge Dr. Susan Newhouse, representing the Chair of the Council of the Australian War Memorial. We also warmly welcome representatives from 1st Recruit Training Unit from the Royal Australian Air Force Base in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Visitors who are able to do so may now be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Cuthbert Claude Ivey. Cuthbert Claude Ivey was born on the 1st of January 1902 in Coburn, Victoria, the sixth of 7 children born to Charles and Catherine Ivey. Known by his middle name, Claude, he spent his childhood living in several locations across Victoria, mostly in the west of the state. His father was a police officer and was posted to different stations throughout his career. Claude followed in his father's footsteps and became a Victorian police officer in 1924. He served in the Criminal Investigations Branch in Melbourne and later took up postings in Cobden and Camperdown, about 200 kilometres southwest of Melbourne. Ivey was an avid supporter of the Richmond Football Club and a keen sportsman who opened the batting for the Cobden Cricket Club. Before the war, he gained military experience in a Citizens Forces artillery unit. In 1927, he married Constance, and the couple had 3 children, Peter, John and Ray. Ivey enlisted into the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 29th of July 1940 at the age of 38. He originally trained with reinforcements of the 2nd 23rd Infantry Battalion and later transferred to the newly formed 4th Reserve Motor Transport Company. Motor transport companies were an essential element of the Allied war effort. They were responsible for the movement of troops, weapons and other supplies necessary on campaign. In early 1941, Ivey and the 4th Reserve Motor Transport Company travelled from Victoria to Sydney and on the 10th of April embarked on the troopship Nieuwe Amsterdam for Singapore. Shortly after arrival, they moved 220 kilometres north to Malacca, a strategically important port city on the west coast of the Malay Peninsula. Ivey trained with his unit and insisted in the bolstering of Allied supplies in the territory. In August, he moved with his unit to be based in Singapore, where they continued to transport stores and newly arrived personnel, as well as assist in setting up new camps. In early December 1941, the Japanese launched large-scale attacks on Allied positions throughout the Pacific, including simultaneous attacks on the American base at Pearl Harbor and Kota Baru on the northeast coast of the Malay Peninsula. From there, Japanese forces began a rapid advance south towards the strategically important British stronghold at Singapore. Ivey and the 4th Reserve Motor Transport Company experienced their first Japanese bombing raid on the 8th of December. They spent the next few weeks working overtime as they transported thousands of Allied reinforcements and tons of supplies brought to the island and assisted in evacuating wounded personnel. As Japanese forces got closer to Singapore, the 4th Reserve Motor Transport Company came under increasingly frequent attack. Between the 8th and 15th of February, they lost many trucks destroyed and 17 personnel killed and missing. Due to the chaotic nature of the fighting, none had a known grave. Allied forces surrendered to Singapore to Japan on the 15th of February 1942. That day, and in the days that followed, Ivey and the 4th Reserve Motor Transport Company continued their work, clearing streets of wrecked vehicles and transporting the wounded. They also assisted in bringing desperately needed supplies to the large prisoner of war camp established at Changi. On the 14th of May 1942, Ivey was one of several thousand Australian and Allied servicemen attached to A-Force, a prisoner of war force established by the Japanese to perform manual labour. He was sent via an overcrowded ship to the south of Burma, where he was first forced to work constructing airfields at Victoria Point. He then moved on to Tan Baiziat to begin work on the Burma-Thailand Railway. Conditions for prisoners of war on the Burma-Thailand Railway were extremely tough. They were forced to work long hours in fierce tropical conditions with very little food. Diseases such as dysentery, cholera, smallpox, and malaria were common. Many suffered at the inhumane treatment at the hands of Japanese and Korean guards. In total, 9,500 Australian prisoners of war worked on the construction of the Thai-Burma Railway. More than 2,500 died. Ivey was one of many to succumb to illness in the harsh conditions. On the 30th September 1943, he died of disease. One account stating that he died from a combination of cerebral malaria and dysentery. He was 41 years old, survived by his wife Connie and 3 children. He was originally buried at the Kohan Khan Hospital Cemetery, and his body was later moved to the Tan Bayazayat War Cemetery in Myanmar, alongside nearly 4,000 Allied servicemen who died on the Burma-Thailand Railway. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my left, among the nearly 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Cuthbert Claude Ivey, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.